Good afternoon, and welcome to Yana. Today we're going to talk about our spiritual bank account. We each understand what our bank account is. That's that place where we deposit the money that we receive, either from work or whatever source it comes from. God is the source, but it depends on how God dispenses that money to us. And each of us know and understand that when we have a nice deposit and a nice balance in our bank account, we are much more comfortable with dealing with life. And the same is true with our spiritual bank account. Our spiritual bank account is that place where we connect with the deposit that's already been made. God, Spirit, whatever you choose to call that divine beingness, that divine oneness, has already made an absolutely unlimited deposit of love. And in our individual spiritual bank accounts, this is where we deposit what we have been willing to receive of that love, or what we have been willing to experience of the faith in the knowingness of God. And this is the place where we go when things don't go quite the way we want them to. This is the place that allows us to deal with life. When we're looking at our spiritual bank account, and when we're speaking of spiritual wisdom and how to follow it through science of mind, we understand that we have an infinite mental reserve account of love and faith. It is faith and love that we draw on when we are writing checks against our spiritual bank account in the times of crisis in our life, not only for ourselves, but for others. In religious science, we accept and know that the power of the divine as the infinite depositor in our human experience. And this is what we call our spiritual bank account. This bank is always open and never closed. And as it says on the money in the United States, in God we trust. And in our spiritual bank account, we truly trust in God. And as I said earlier, this infinite bank account is insured by the FDIC, which in this case means the fearlessly divine infinite conviction. And it is our responsibility to keep our spiritual bank account full. And the way we do this is to be aware of the infinite availability of love, and to take that part of that love that we're willing to accept and allow it to fill our bank account, which in this case is most likely located in our hearts. And as we allow that love to fill our hearts, we have the availability to approach any situation from that place of love. In the book, Love is Letting Go of Fear, Dr. Gerald Jampolsky says that every action is either a request for love or an expression of love. And when we can come to understand that, and we take the opportunity to continually fill our spiritual bank account, we can meet those crises that show up in our lives. We can meet those experiences that make us feel less than or unfair or whatever it is. We can meet those things that happen in life from a much better place. Dr. Holmes says there is a power that honors our faith. There is a love that is met with love, a law that is met with faith and meets faith, and good with good. We did not create this law, this power, this divine presence. We had no more to do with it than we did with the creation of the north wind of the North Star. It was there before we recognized it. It would be there if we had no existence. But it does not seem to be there until we believe in it and use it. Again, we must be connected with this infinite supply of love that is God, because God is love. So we do things that allow us to make this connection. We do things that allow us to fill ourselves, to fill our spiritual bank account with love. And I was trying to think of a couple ideas of ways we could do this. And in this material that this lesson came from, which is in Living the Science of Mind, and a chapter called Your Spiritual Bank Account, Dr. Holmes has a couple of beautiful meditations, and I'm going to share one right now, and then I'll share one to close out this lesson. The first one is, God is love, and all the love there is, and this love is mine. I shall endeavor to see something lovable in everyone I meet, in every situation in which I find myself. And as I do this, I shall accumulate a great degree of love to be deposited in my bank. And then, when some experience comes along which seems unkind or unlovable, I shall be able to print a check on my bank of life, which will cover every liability for this unpleasant experience. So what Dr. Holmes is reminding us here is, as I've said already, is that there's an infinite supply of love, that God expresses itself as love. And as we take the opportunity to see love in every situation and to see love in every experience, we allow ourselves to absorb this love in a greater degree. And as we absorb this love and experience it in a greater degree, this allows us to meet those experiences in our lives from a space of love and seeing those things, as I said, Gerald Rampolsky said, as a call for love, instead of seeing it as something that is being done to us or some experience that we're having. I was trying to think of a concrete example of meeting an experience with love, and I'm sure all of you can think of one, and I haven't been able to yet. So, but there's just, I thought of one and I can't use it. It involves politics, and I'll just leave it there. Because I am called to experience love in many degrees, sometimes in political situations. And it's in situations with my family. I think I shared a couple of weeks ago that my next door neighbor's house has just gone on the market. And I think I also shared that my next door neighbor doesn't necessarily have the most positive attitude in the world. And unfortunately, a lot of that has been showing up. And it's like, I would love to be able to help her flip a switch where she would move from seeing all the negative to experiencing more positive in her life in every way. And it's always easier to see this in other people than it is to see it when we do it ourselves. But that's part of what the spiritual bank account experience is. The more that we can embrace love in every situation around us, the stronger we are to deal with those things that happen in our lives. And right now, my life is going very well. So I can't think of any place where it's not, which is a wonderful feeling, and I would like it to continue that way. So I will continue to experience love in all situations. Another part of our spiritual bank account is faith. It's knowing that God is there, that it's the Father's great pleasure to give us the kingdom, and to be willing to, it's more than to be willing to know that God is always guiding and directing us. It's the knowing and that absolute feeling that God is always there for us. And the more we have that feeling, the easier it is to get in touch with that feeling. Holmes has said in many places that these laws work. And if we do not believe that the law works by not working, because that's what we believe in. So it is our job to always be clear about faith, to be clear that God is working for and through us in every situation, to know that all things are possible. One of the greatest examples of faith in the Christian Bible is when Jesus went to the tomb of Lazarus, who had been laid as deceased for, I believe, 3 days. And his family is standing at the tomb wailing because they've lost their loved one. And he goes to roll the stone away. And they say, "You can't do that. He's been dead for 3 days." And this is the block that so many of us have. This stone represents the block that we all have to that divine power, to that God, to knowing that when we speak our word, it manifests. And Jesus knew that when he called forth to Lazarus to come forth, Lazarus would rise and come forth. He also knew that he was not doing it, that he was connecting to that divine power that is God. And he absolutely knew when he spoke his word that it would be manifest. And as we do our work, as we know that in every situation, there is love calling love, there is faith calling faith, peace calling peace, joy calling joy. That is, we can come from a place where we truly understand this is the truth of who we are and what we are. We experience more and more of it. I'd like to end this session with the last affirmation that I was wanting to share. So what I'd like you to do is just maybe close your eyes and get comfortable and listen to these words. Believing that God is all the presence there is, I am learning to feel this presence in everything and everyone. Dwelling on the thought that God is love, I permit my mind to become filled with this consciousness of love. I permit that love to envelop everything and everyone, bringing with it a sense of peace, joy, and certainty. Realizing that God is life, I open my whole thought to such a complete inflowing of this divine life that I see it and I feel it. The one perfect life which is God, in people, in nature, animating every act, sustaining all movement. My faith in this life is complete, positive, and certain. Knowing that all things are possible in faith, I say to my own mind, be not afraid. Faith makes your way certain. Faith goes before you and prepares the way. Believing that God is in everyone, I meet this God in people, and I am one with everyone I meet. Knowing that God is peace, I open my mind to the quiet influence and calm certainty of this peace. And knowing that God is joy, I meet every situation in happiness. I commit my life unto the power which can do all this with complete assurance. And I honor you to take these words in and embrace them, knowing that with God, all things are possible at all times.